Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to MLG Blue Stream. We've got another great game in the round of 32 for you as we close out this particular bracket. My name is totalbiscuit, joined by the one and only incontrol.
Happy to be here, John, or Mr. Biscuits. This is going to be great. Goswser, just like Minigun before him, has actually called out his opponent and says he's going to add him to a long list of players.
Indeed.
Well, Terran players he's actually destroyed over the last few months. And to Goswser's credit, he did beat those guys, and he beat them in competition. It's not like on ladder, he's like, yeah, I'm 15-0 against them on my Smurf account. He actually beat them in Rit Mix tournaments. He beat them in MLGs. He beat them in Clan Leagues. So this is legitimate stuff, and he's calling out Bomber.
Yep, he says, in the past few months, I've beaten MMA, Puma, Holt, MKP, and MVP in best of 3s or best of 5s. Today I will add Bomber to that list, and again, he is not wrong. However, we are talking about two things that are just a little bit different here. One, Wings of Liberty, and two, online. This is a LAN environment. This is a little bit different. Yeah. Bomber certainly trumps Goswser in terms of experience in that regard, and there's a lot of pressure on Goswser. You just look at the foreigner lineup so far in this tournament, and it is like reaping corn. It's pretty harsh.
It might actually be easier than that. It might have been if the corn was made from like the bubbles in a bubble bath, and you just kind of like ran, like just tickling it around, and it just fell over. That's about how easy it's been. It's not 3-1s or 3-2s. It's just 3-0s across the board. It's like Bly again with that 1-3 against Flash, and if you haven't seen those games, do check them out because even the losses were hard fought. So Bly is, in my opinion, the shining beacon, but I don't want to be like, remember that guy that lost 1-3 to the really good player, and they were like really good games?
Like
I want to say, remember that guy that won, you know?
Yeah, I think that's what everyone wants right now, especially with Heart of the Swarm coming in. It's a great opportunity for foreigners to step up and say, right, okay, we get a bit of a reset. Unfortunately, that reset so far has been kind of even worse.
That's actually a good point,
yeah. They forgot to put any maps on the board. It's been a pretty bad reset. But one way or the other, it's another opportunity. I think of all of the matches we've seen so far of foreigners, Goswser is probably the guy that does have the best shot at taking down, or at least taking maps from a Korean, based on his previous record. He is considered by many people to be a Zerg versus Terran specialist.
Stefano Last is another one to keep your eye on.
Very true.
Almost because, and unfortunately for everybody else, Last is understated. There's so many good Korean Terrans here that Last comes too deep. I can't back out now. He comes in last place in that list of Korean Terrans.
It had to be done at the end of the day. If you didn't deliver, you were just going to disappoint people.
Thank you. You're actually right. So I had to say what everyone was thinking. But yes, that is the case. But I do agree with you. As far as players that are well-deserved of the reputation for ZVT, Goswser is up there. And I do actually like the point you brought. And I know I've been doing a little bit of the like, jargon and wall, so I don't want to do too much of that. But Wings of Liberty ZVT is a different beast.
Absolutely.
It's almost flipped on its head now. A lot of Zergs are saying with the Reaper openings and with what Terran can do in mid-game with those speed medevacs and Widow Mines, it's a different beast. Of course, in Wings of Liberty, was just kind of hold on as a Zerg, get those Infestors and Broodlords, and then walk across the map or fly.
And what we've currently got is a bit of a mystery with Bomber. Right? We know how good Bomber is, but we didn't really get the chance to see him perform in the MLG show matches, of course, because he ended up getting seeded in here anyway as one of the top 4 for the previous Dallas. And as a direct result, we're not really sure just how good he's going to end up being here. Goswser, on the other hand, has played a lot of HOTS. He's streamed a lot of HOTS. I've seen him play HOTS. But he got here through Caliber, who is a Protoss player, who seemed to forget that Swarm hosts existed.
He did not know about Swarm hosts.
No, he did not. He actually fully admitted it. We're not joking here. He said, oh, that's a thing. It's like a lurker, only it sends infinite units at me. This is really tough. And as people have pointed out during this tournament, as you're a Protoss player, when you're fighting Swarm hosts, you feel like you're losing all the time.
Yeah, we were joking about that backstage. It's like it's a necessity sometimes. Like the weirdest part for a Protoss is when they're coming up a ramp and you cast 3 force fields to stop them from coming up there, but then you attack, then they shoot over the force field and like 2-shot a Zeld anyways, and you're like, well, I'm actually just, I'm dying right now, like very slowly, but yeah, it's a weird feeling. So we'll see. I mean, like you were illustrating, we don't know where Bomber's at, and I'll tell you what, if his teammates any indicator, Life played Wings of Liberty against Minigun, and unfortunately that was all it took. I mean, the Hydros against the parting push would have been, well, not the parting push, but the Immortal push would have been weird if we hadn't seen Life already do that against parting in Wings of Liberty, so we know that that's something that he likes to do. So I'm looking for change. I want to see Bomber utilize those speed backs. I want to see him use Widow Mines, and let's see some mech. I would love mech.
That would be an interesting move out of him. I mean, we're talking about the guy that just absolutely loves bio and has loved bio against any situation. Oh, this situation would be great if I just had... No, I think Marines might work out here. But he does have Winter Mines now. He has access to the Hellbat. He loves his drop play. And now he has a Medivac that goes even quicker. And as we saw in the hands of Flash, that was just unfair. So how is Bomber going to be able to handle that? Probably pretty damn well, I would think.
Well, I think what you're saying is exactly right. I mean, the reason why Terrans are getting talked about a lot right now is because basically they do the same thing, only Medivac, an already essential and still powerful unit, just got better. They're retaining more of them, so they're carrying those Medivac counts into the mid and late game where, you don't want 20 of them, but certainly if you have 12 as opposed to like the 4 that other Terrans would get because they lose them from drops or something like that, then you're in a much better position. Talking a little bit more about Goswser 2, by the way, he's been in France training at that Millennium House, so he's been, I mean, that's a little bit less of a deal during the beta just because we all played in the same server, but it's more of a deal in the sense that he's playing with a higher caliber European player base right now, and he's also, in those pro gaming houses, getting advice from those players as well, so it's shown his results have gotten better.
Yeah, the interesting thing about Goswser is that before he actually joined Millennium, he talked to me a little bit and said, can you tell me, what you think I should do with my career right now? I really want to take this seriously, and I've had this offer. What do you think? And my conclusion on it was, you know what? If you were really wanting to take this seriously, and you're willing to literally move halfway across the world to do that, then I say go for it.
Yeah.
And he's been showing results as a direct result of this decision.
Yeah.
So it seems like it's working out for him. But now is his first true real test in Heart of the Swarm because he goes up against this guy. So to the northeast of Kesper's Neoplanet S in the red trunks playing Terran, it is none other than Startail Bomber. And his opponent looking to prove some doubters wrong here, looking to translate that online success into real LAN achievements. Now on Team Millennium in the blue trunks playing Zerg to the southwest, it is Goswser.
I gotta tell you, that silence after you announce players, we gotta do something. We gotta feed in a cheer.
We got something. We could just put a laugh track in there. Yeah. That would be something giant red. That would be ideal. We somehow got a bunch of 1920s mobsters into the audience right there.
It always makes me feel like I'm doing something wrong, but I'm not. I'm supposed to let you have a second, and then you announce the next player, because at home they're cheering maybe, or...
They literally get out of their couches and just scream as loud as humanly possible.
Goshu user.
Yeah, see? Yeah.
I'm excited. There's that gas, though, for Bomber.
This is going to get a little bit weird. Yeah, all right. Gas has begun, as you said, and we're not seeing anything like the 888 coming out immediately, which is... I don't like that build, honestly. It's not that it's not effective. It can be. It's just that it seems like you're sacrificing quite a lot early, taking some unnecessary risks. You get the Reaper in a little bit later, and it can still do damage without having to go full-on 888 proxy Reaper, and then, oh, they held it. My barracks is the other side of the map now. What do I do?
Yep. Well, I certainly agree with you. I think one of the reasons why it's such a strong build too is not even when they use it, it's when they don't use it that the Zerg still has to take into account that possibility. Yeah. And that concept rings true in StarCraft 2 anyway, so it's unavoidable. But in particular, that does mess with the Zerg brain. And we can see here the drone dueling with that SCV, trying to stop that bunker, or excuse me, the bunker from completing. But as Total Biscuit was talking about, we do not see that proxied barracks. In fact, not even the 8 barracks. So the Reaper, actually the bunker completes.
It does.
I just kind of babbled, and I was expecting that to not happen.
It almost didn't. Yeah. Bomber would have taken, he could only have taken, actually no more hits. He's on 5 HP, so that drone would have killed it. He went into there a fraction of a second before that last hit went off. Goswser is probably not very pleased by that. He should have been able to stop that bunker, and now we're going to have this incredibly annoying little gnat of a unit just battering away very, very slowly at this area. He's already taken a significant amount of damage, but you got to bear in mind it's a Reaper, and these guys don't really care about damage anymore. They can easily regenerate it. The bunker's an ideal place for them to do that. That's their flop house in the Zerg territory. And he's doing a little bit of damage here and there. He hasn't hit the drone line, and he hasn't interrupted the mining, which is perhaps the most important thing.
You know, what I kind of like about the new Reaper is it's not quite what it used to be, where, like, if this was the case in Wings of Liberty, it would be throwing out grenades doing just ridiculous amounts of damage, and there's no chance in hell that with Lings you stop the Reaper from doing that.
Not at all.
But in Heart of the Swarm, I like that basically with their heal ability and their light damage, they're almost like an action tax. They're basically saying, hey, I am Bomber. I've got more APM than you. I'm going to handle this better than you will. And I'm hoping that this slows you down a lot, not necessarily by the outright damage, but because you just don't have the actions to control it.
Yeah, which is why I think giving it to Korean players is probably something that needs to be banned in future tournaments. But unfortunately,
that'd be a funny rule.
It would be, wouldn't it? You know, it's like the whole Akuma thing in Super Street Fighter 2. Yeah, it's just unfair. I think it's something that Zerg players are going to have to get used to. That was nicely shut down there by Goswser to take down one of the Reapers. Only one worker was killed. The delays did happen. Bomber behind this went into double expand.
Yeah.
So he wanted that to be a screen behind which he could be the greediest man alive.
Yep, and he's the original guy to do that. I'll tell you what, I've seen 4GG do like the 2-base 4 orbital in the first 10 minutes of the game, and that's where it gets really excessive. But Bomber's been triple CCing for a long, long time. In fact, he's just going to pack it up. He says, you know what, that's too many Lings. Even with the one Reaper on the bunker like that, I can't hold it down. But what I would like to say here, too, is that we're not seeing it this game. Goswser does throw down that Roach Warren. He just has one drone on the gas, so he's not really looking to do any kind of huge timing. But one of the things that makes him dangerous is he is capable of doing absolutely anything. He is no problem cheesing a Terran, Hatchin base, Nidus, Roach Baneling, 1-base Roach. Like, he'll do it all. And if you know that, you're in trouble. But if you don't know that, you're in trouble. And that's the kind of nice thing about watching Goswser's EVT.
Certainly, he likes to mix things up, and Heart of the Swarm gives him more tools to do that, and we could see some new delicious varieties of cheese coming out over the next couple of months. So far, so standard for the moment, producing a couple of Roaches, going for that third. Bomber brings in his Hellions, which will get a little bit nibbling.
Yeah, and he stacked them up to go ahead and hit a burrowed Creep Tumor, if you will, which is just the
very nice. Love that.
Adorable things that he does to win fans across the world. But behind this, we do see the 3 barracks and the factory, as totalbiscuit predicted. He is a bio guy. I was proclaiming, that I would like to see mech, but that was me saying something to deaf ears. There's no way in hell that was going to happen. If this guy could make Marines, he just will. I remember his game against Idra on Metalopolis, where he actually made more Marines in one game than I think every other Terran did that entire tournament. That was insane.
Sounds about right. Oh, getting a little bit of supply block there. Bomber he's not so much known for supply blocks, but he's known for having these little Bomber moments every now and again. It's flawed genius. He'll pull off the best game you can imagine, and then suddenly he forgets to research Stim 18 minutes into the game and loses it. And it's like, what happened? And it's like, well, it's Bomber.
You're absolutely right. I mean, and then you watch like Flash in comparison. And supply block is a weird term in English that he's not even aware of. In Korean. There's no word for it. He doesn't have it. He doesn't know what it means. But here we do see the layer going down, which is kind of nice because before that there was a Baneling nest.
There's 2 of them.
2 layers?
2 Baneling nests.
Okay, well that's a little bit of a miss.
Yeah, I was going to say that's a fairly non-standard build coming out right there from Goswser. I've been preaching this the longest time. And I've been evangelizing this idea that Zerg players should build more than one tech building of the same building just because it keeps getting sniped, but there's clearly no way that Goswser was listening to that. It's like, you know what, if you've got 6 spawning pools, they can't drop them.
In your defense, if you're not a professional and you're, I don't know, platinum and below, that's actually kind of cool advice because they're probably having a tough time building spending all their money anyways, so you might as well build
build some spare buildings, man. Yeah. It's not like you've got any lava, you forgot to inject for 13 minutes, you're fine.
Yeah, I think that's fine. Good map vision here. Creep's Red is stretching out on his region of the map, the lower left-hand side, but you can also notice that there's overlords in key locations like spotting the gas of the natural, making sure top left. These are common places for medevacs to exit the top right quadrant, if you will, of Bomber and then make their way towards the bases. And he's got a pretty good idea of when and where those will start appearing, and that's the mark of a good Zerg. Goswser is going to opt here for Roach Baneling. He's getting all the proper upgrades, Roach speed, Baneling speed, and I mean, what do you think of this composition?
Well, as far as I'm concerned, from what I've seen from Goswser, when you put Banelings in his hand against Terran, he can do some fairly extraordinary things. And he has been criticized in the past for sort of all-in-ish behavior when he's been going for 2-base Baneling busts over and over and over again against Terran. But the fact of the matter is that, as you well know as a professional player, what is effective is all that really matters. And he may be able to make something happen here. He is massing up a lot of links, a lot of Banelings here. Looking at the composition of his opponent right now, this defense is pretty solid against that kind of attack. Well spread out siege tanks, bunkers in good positions. It will be difficult to connect with anything in particular without taking significant losses.
Yeah, he's waiting for these upgrades to finish. Is Goswser. He's getting +1 melee in the background here as well. But this is going to be a timing, as Total Biscuit had talked about. It's a 2-prong attack, and it's launched just now. Here comes everything. Bunker's trying to get put down in front to funnel those units. But the spread is pretty good. Baneling's rolling in, looking for the connect. Roach is trying to tank the damage as best they can. Most of the Banelings have been depleted, though, but there's just a lot of Zerg here. That's
very, very true. A lot of Roaches able to smash their way through, take down a couple of tanks here and there. Perhaps not what he was hoping for, honestly. A lot of Banelings just got target fired down. Really, I didn't see Banelings connect with anything much, and the Roaches are now going to slowly leave and get beaten on as they do. And that was not exactly ideal. I liked the placement of Bomber particularly, just building up those bunkers. I had no intention of them even completing, just simply creating less space in order to funnel those Banelings into the hot gates where their numbers counted for nothing.
Yeah, a lesser Zerg would detonate against those bunkers just because maybe A moved, but a good Zerg like Goswser still has to get funneled between them, which of course allows for more area of effect damage, which those tanks do offer. So really nice defense from Bomber, great read. I looked at it and I said, I don't know if he had enough, but the quick decision-making that you were talking about was able to tip it over in his favor. He does survive. Supply-wise, they're about equal, and that's bad news for Zerg. You want to be ahead in supply at this point in time. If you're behind or equal, there's a good chance you're losing, especially with a macro beast like Bomber.
Bomber's also a sneaky individual, I've noticed, with this drop coming down to the bottom. He basically sent that through a corridor whereby neither of those overlords actually spotted it. So this is going to come in completely unscouted. There are, however, Lings there already because, of course, at this stage of the game, it's nice to be able to scout it, and it would have been lovely if he'd spotted that one coming in. That's going to do some damage. Lings now finally responding. Then, of course, the drop will come into the main base. There are Lings and Banelings still there ready for it. So it's not like he didn't know there was going to be drops coming in.
Yeah, he's doing a good job. He's in the right position. Of course, Bomber doesn't necessarily need to do damage with these. He's just occupying his attention and, again, kind of taking the tax out of Goswser's ability to be doing other things. If you leave a Zerg unperturbed, they will get the optimal number of drones.
Oh, yeah.
And they will just upgrade and make stuff. And a lot of times that's the winning strategy for them. Now, I do want to note, the gas just now went down for Goswser, so not as big of a deal as I was thinking, but there was a chance he forgets about that. And that kind of stuff happens in the really competitive games, like an MLG round of 32, where you're playing against one of the best players on the planet. But he's able to fix that, and that's not a big deal.
All right, so the situation right now is that Bomber does have a significant supply lead. He's got it's Marine heavy, let's just put it that way. 66 Marines, and we're seeing, it's basically a very classic Wings of Liberty 2-2-1 timing by the looks of it, but he's managed to start up that level 2 vehicle slightly earlier, maybe because Siege doesn't cost gas anymore. That's slightly faster this time around, but this is a powerful push. What I do like is the creep spread from Goswser. This is going to start way far away from a base.
I was just going to talk about that because it is a Wings of Liberty opening, except for the fact that usually that involves Hellions just because of the creep spread we're now seeing. I mean, Bomber's on creep. He's going to fight on creep. There's a drop at the natural, and that one's going to get ran down by Lings, but the engagement in the middle of the map, the tanks are unsieged. Lings running all over the place. And this is an absolute slaughter right now. The Banelings and Lings and Roaches are cleaning this up. A lot of the Banelings at the tail end of that not getting the value he would have liked, but that's fine because the other guys were occupied with killing everything.
Very, very true. This drop, however, in the main base has done significant damage to the drone line of Goswser. This one of the fourth base isn't cleaned up either, so this three-pronged attack, even though Bomber lost a lot. Look at the supply. Did you not just see about 3,000 Terran Marines slaughtered? How is he on 173 supply? The answer is his macro is impeccable, and those drops were ridiculously effective. Doesn't quite take the spawning pool out there. In fact, the second one's being built just in case. Oh, yeah, he will.
Unfinished business.
Indeed, and Bomber does not like to leave things unfinished. Down it goes, as you just predicted there. And Goswser is in a hell of a lot of trouble, regardless of a nice engagement in the center.
Goswser made the mistake of slaughtering the middle army. Silly him. He should have known that was actually only half the force. The rest of the time, I was screaming my head off. Bomber was occupied winning the game. He's going to go ahead and take the gold base in the middle of the map. Planetary Fortress should finish uninhibited. It's just going to anchor that economy so well. Bomber churning out the units, and as you had said, a 70 supply advantage, which just seems weird. It seems comical, because, like, he literally got ran over in the middle of the map. But that was the distraction, not the drops. It was his army in the middle of the map.
Yeah, I mean, most Terran players would say, right, this is where my big army is.
Yeah.
If I lose this big army, I'm kind of in a bit of trouble because replenishment's going to be an issue. Oh, no, wait, actually, I'm producing 30 Marines at a time, like 3 tanks at a time, and I'm also dropping everywhere. Massive Doom drop now coming in.
He's 5 dropping them.
But this is ridiculous.
He's 5 dropping them with tanks in the middle of the map. And Goswser is losing infestors here. He's got the fungals down, but that many medevacs, it doesn't really matter. There's a 2 medevac drop at the south part of the main base that's going to have a... that got ran over, but that gets ran over, and then the army in the middle of that becomes the real army.
Bomber's just refusing to go under 170 supply right now. He just keeps building more units. He's got the economy to support it. Taking that gold base is kind of the nail in the coffin, I feel, here. I don't see how Goswser could possibly break this contain.
No, he's down 80 supplies.
There it is.
There's
GG.
And I'll tell you what, that was not a Heart of the Swarm. Oh, he did that one strategy that Goswser just simply wasn't ready for. He deflected an attack beautifully, making just amazing decisions right at the last second there. And then he proceeded to play the bomber that we knew, dropping everywhere, macroing, and just shoving his will down the throat of Goswser.
Indeed. And the question is, will he be able to do that repeatedly?
Yeah.
Because any doubts that we've had, I think, of Bomber's performance have just simply evaporated.
No, they're gone. Yeah.
Let's not
Whoop,
even...
that was terrifying. Okay.
I don't really mind and if he was playing Heart of the Swarm or not. It doesn't matter. He could have been playing Zuzu Bubble and Goswser would have still lost at that stage. It was brutal, honestly. It really, really was. And it's not like Goswser played badly. It's just Bomber played magnificent.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, that's exactly it. I mean, Goswser, he did have moments of hope. I liked the Roach Baneling. That's really powerful on this map. I mean, I think it almost doesn't get better than Neo S Planet for that kind of push because the third is so far away from the natural. But I do think that as bad as that got at the end of there was glimmers of hope for Goswser where just a few different decisions, perhaps catching those drops a little bit better with some more Overlord spread, earlier infestors, handling the drops better. If he runs over the army in the middle of the map and then has stack defense behind to slow down the damage that he was taking from those drops, this is a different game, and maybe we're talking about the praises of Goswser right now.
Certainly a possibility. What do you think to the discussion that's been going on over this weekend about the severe lack of static defense that's being used by Zerg? Do you feel that it's a worthwhile risk to take, considering it allows you to get a larger army, or is it something that the Zergs are just going to have to bite the bullet and say, you know what, I actually do need Spores and Spines because this hurts too much. I can't defend it all at once.
That's a fantastic question. I think it's interesting that it's gone by the wayside, stack defense. It's because Zergs used to be defensive, where they're like, okay, I need that stack defense to get to that Broodlord Infestor composition so that I can win in the late game.
Yeah.
I think that mindset changes where Zerg's more aggressive in the mid game, so they're not defensive, but they still need the stack defense because their anti-air options are limited and terrible. They don't have Hydralisk in the mainstay of their composition most of the time. Infestors, it's now a skill shot as opposed to a boom, you're now covered in green goo. So I feel like Zergs need to revisit that stack defense style, but it's not because they're getting to Broodlord Infestor, but rather it's so they're not dying to drops.
Yeah, and the Zergs are dying left and right to drops throughout this tournament so far, and I think that is perhaps a lesson that needs to be learned. We'll see how it evolves. I mean, the metagame is going to shift over the course of these 3 days, because this is the first major North American SC2 Heart of the Swarm tournament, and we'll be bringing you Game 2 of this series very shortly. Ladies and gentlemen, you are watching MLG Blue Stream. Don't go anywhere.